Okay, so here we go, on to part 2. So you've gone to the Files app and you've printed it off just like that. And this gives you this. Now, it's important to note, like, this is just going to be a stencil. It's going to be a stencil for that paper. That's what we want it on. This is kind of important because it's thicker paper, it's better quality, it's like glossy, it grips nice, and also it's the perfect like factory produced width and spacing of the lines for where the pins are. But if you try and print it onto thick paper, it won't always play perfect because either you might be just like a millimeter too far over one way and it will play wrong notes, or the width of the paper won't be right, so it will kind of move around as it's playing. This is a stencil for that paper. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this out and we're going to punch it. And what's good is, like, we're only doing a short piece here, but if we were doing a really long piece and it's like pages and pages and pages, it's all numbered to show you the order it has to go in. And then we're going to punch these out. Boom. Okay, so these have been cut out, and now what we're going to do is we're going to use this punch that comes with the mechanism when you buy one. We'll punch this out.
12 seconds later.
Boom. Okay, so that's all punched out now. Now, one thing that's really important is the line that it's sitting on. Do you notice every single hole is in line with one of the lines, because that's one of the pins in the mechanism. None of them are in the gaps, so it has to be the same. Every single line going horizontally is where the pins run. There is no pins in the mechanism in the gaps, so if you punch in the gap, nothing will play, or it might even pick up the wrong note. Now, that's important for me to tell you because this paper is not actually the exact same size. So you kind of will put it there, and like you can already see the ones at the bottom are in line, but that one at the top is starting to go outlined. So when you do the bottom, sometimes it's a good idea to do the bottom half and then like just push the paper up a little bit to do the top half, to be able to see already that like the top ones are already going in line. But if I push them back down like as they were before, now they're in line down there, but they're not really in line up there. So that's something to look out for. So what we're going to do, we're going to take, I would recommend using, like, I tried this recently to use like a permanent marker instead, just because I feel like if you try and use a pen, it doesn't always mark super great because it's kind of glossy paper. So I'd use a permanent marker and you'll get a better mark through. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to enter the stencil onto the paper. Oh, and just a bonus note that I'd forgotten before I move on. Sometimes it can help as well just to cut off the end. I mean, this paper's kind of clearish, so you can kind of see through, but it really helps. You want to make sure that the bottom line here is in line with that bottom line there. So sometimes if you're not sure of where a note should be, you can just count up and count like, okay, it's on the second line up, so it has to be on the second line up. And that can help us to make sure that we get it accurate, because this is the moment you have to get it accurate, otherwise it won't play properly. Oh yeah, and this will help. The software always gives you like a crossover bar so that you know where it blends over to. So this final bar here should blend over to wherever that one is. So if we can match that one up, and that will kind of help us to know where to put the rest of the bar. So all we need to do now is punch that out. Okay, so that's all punched out. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this tail off, because once the paper is in the mechanism, you can't pull it out. It has to play through all the paper. So we're just gonna cut this off. Okay, so now we can test that one that we just made. So what I'm going to show you now is I'm going to show you This one's really short, but I'm going to show you how to do a join, which is a really important part. And if you did ever watch that video by Wintergarten on like the joins that he uses, I use the same type of joins pretty much. It's the best way to do a join that I've seen so far. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so this is the bit where I'm going to show you how to do a join. What I've done is, because this piece just was too short to even need it on a second piece, what I've done is I've kind of recreated what you will have if you have a really long piece. So I've just reprinted the second half. So we're gonna make a join here, even though we don't need to. So the way to do this is you want to get the two pieces where they repeat, and what we want to do is we want to match up that perfectly. So this one matches up there, and we can decide anywhere along that, and we're going to create a diagonal cut. So we're going to put both pieces through that paper cutter. You probably can do it with scissors, but I'm not confident to try that. So I'm going to do this here, get these two pieces lined up perfectly, and I'm going to make a diagonal, because a diagonal is way stronger and it doesn't create creases over time than if you try and do a horizontal, which is something in that video by the YouTuber Wintergarten he kind of mentions. So there we go, we're going to make our cut. So these pieces we don't need, and if we did it right, which I'm hoping we did, we should have our perfect join there, and then that'll blend perfectly like that to create the piece. Now if you've got a super long piece, this is how to do it. And also, thankfully, if you use the paper that comes with the music box anyway, they're really long, so you shouldn't need that many joins. So now, how to make this join happen, and this is kind of important, because I've seen it before where someone mentioned, you can just like tape over the two pieces and put that through. Don't do that, you'll break your music box. The music box mechanism can only cope with a certain width, so if you try and put it through, then it could break your music box. So that's why the less tape we can use, the better. Okay, so what I've done is I've got a few strips here ready. Now this is really kind of sensitive work, and you really want to get this right. I am just using general sellotape, but you can use like electrical tape as well. That will work, and it's kind of thick and strong, so that kind of is good as well. I am a little hesitant to use it just because of the thickness issue. We're going to try and position these just right, and then we're going to try and tape it. I'm going to pop the tape over that there. Make sure there's no creases or anything, and just fold that over the back. I like to put one across the back as well, just to make it a little bit stronger. So flatten that out in the middle, and we'll just fold that over. And this is also the same technique you can use for if you've made a hole in the wrong place. Let's say, I don't know, let's say you made a hole there and you shouldn't have. Well, to fix it, you can just tape over that hole. That's totally fine. So that hole won't play. So this is kind of also how you repair holes. So all those ones we just taped over, we need to repunch. And then once we repunch them, it'll play. Okay, so now we've got that join there, and that's how you make a join. We've got a little repair if we make a wrong note. I've repunched out all of those holes, so now we can give it a try through the mechanism. So as you notice, you couldn't hear at all the join. You couldn't hear that note that we'd put some tape over as well. So that's how you make a join when you're doing a really long piece. And if you just, if you follow that process for doing like the whole paper side of it, you can make your whole piece and you've took it from the software, you've transposed it, you've turned it, printed it off, made your stencil, you've punched it all out onto the paper. So all that's left is just to fit the mechanism to whatever box you want, really. And that's what I'll do in the next part of the video. I haven't got a box at the moment to fit this to, but when I get a box, I can make that part of the video.